Uh, uh, yeah, welcome again. Now we want to look for another country in South Asia, and a very important country because it is considered to be the youngest democracy in the world, and it became democracy, parliamentary democracy, only in 2008. That is known as Bhutan. Now, Bhutan was considered to be a theocratic nation, but in 1907, it became a monarchy, from theocracy to monarchy, but it is said that it became monarchy because of intervention of British. And from a absolute monarchy in Bhutan, in 2008, it became a democracy, parliamentary democracy. So we can actually, I'm just trying to make it a little bit more specific. I'm not taking a evolutionary historical model where we try to discuss each epoch of the history, but definitely we can discuss diversity in Bhutan. And if we see diversity in Bhutan, then there are number of groups which are there, and let me spell out for you. It is SHARCHOP. I am very sorry that I can't give you exact pronunciation, but I pronounce it as Sarchop. Sarchop. Okay. Then there is this is a group which is considered to be some 24, approximately 24% of the population. And then there is Nagalong, which is Nagalong are somewhere 16.5% of the population. The third group is Bum, Thang, Thangpa, Bum Thangpa. That is the third group, which is only 4.37. And then there are Kheng, Kheng. Kheng, there are also a small minority, that is 3.64%. But there is, a very substantial growth, and it's where the ethnic strife also existed. I call it as Hot Champa, or Lot Champa, whatever I tried to search on Google how to pronounce, but I could not get it. I tried also to ask some of the people, but I could not get someone how to pronounce it. But I will say Lot Champa, and it is considered to be Nepalese origin people. And according to 1988 census, they were somewhere 28 to 30%. Okay. Now, the first group, Sherchok, which are considered to, which are some approximately 24%, they are considered to be the earliest settlers in Bhutan, and they live in southern Bhutan and are racially Mongoloid. They are racially Mongoloid. They speak a language called Sangha, but start with T, T-S-A-N-G-H-A, Sangha, which is considered to be a Sino-Tibetan family language. Okay, and what is unique about them is that they practice a agriculture which is often called as slash and burn. In India, what is called a zoom cultivation. This method of farming. So they slash the trees and burn them, and in the ashes they grow. Why did they do so is that it is said that they do it because there is they live in thick forest, and therefore there is less rain, and hence, land is not possible. Therefore, they slash and burn and do their farming for 3-4 years, and after that they abandon it and go ahead. Tibetan Buddhism exercises a very considerable Tibetan Buddhism on influence in Bhutan, and Buddhist priests are often supported by the community. But as far as Sherchok is concerned, they also retain their popular belief of their ethnic religion. It's not that they have given up. So there is, of course, the multiplicity of religion here. That is a small description of the Sherchoks. The second group, Nagalong, are Tibetan in origin, okay, who migrated to Bhutan from Tibet in 9th and 10th century. And Nagalong are considered to be the ruling elite of the country. They are settled in the western. So we see Sherchok in the south and Nagalong in the west. They belong to Mahayan Buddhism and speak the language Zonka, D-Z-O-N-G-K-H-A, Zonka. This I checked with Google how to pronounce, and that's why I am very confident that I'm speaking right. Zonka. Zonka is the language which they speak. And Zonka, because they are ruling elite, has also become the national language of Bhutan. Zonka is the national language of Bhutan. This is the case of Nagalong. The other Kang and actually both this Bumthangpa, I think they do not have that much of discussion. Therefore, I will have actually come to Lot Champa, and they are considered to be Nepalese origin people in Bhutan. And of course, the population is located in the southern Bhutan. They mostly migrated to Bhutan in the 19th century, 1850 to 1950. That is what actually they say. And there is another story associated with Lord Champa's migration, and that is that they migrated in 1660 as a Newar craftsman. Newar, this is a group. Newars is a group in Nepal. They were craftsmen, Newar craftsmen. They came to Bhutan to build a pillar called stupa, very famous stupa. They had come to make it. That is another story. But what happened that in 1990, the country expelled Lord Champa. Why they expelled? They expelled Nepalese people, it is said, to save their unique national identity. And even today, we see that Lord Champa are one of the largest refugee population in South Asia. So we will just elaborate a little bit this controversy to understand Bhutan's ethnic conflict. Lord Champa, as I have just told you, are there since very long in the southern part, while Bhutanese expelled them in 1990s. Bhutan claims that people of Nepalese origin, Lord Champa, are newcomers to Bhutan. However, peoples of Nepalese origin, they say that no, we are from very long, since 1620s. And 1620s we were brought here, and we have not left the country. We have made this country, we have contributed our labor in this country. Now, since then, there has been since then history, the numbers have been growing, and they also gave the name Lord Champa, which means people from south. And the most important aspect is that they were not, they were invited. They were invited, but now they are unwelcome there. That is the problem. They were invited as laborers because there was need for foreign labor in Bhutan at that time. Bhutan did not have, manpower for projects, and they had been brought there. But Bhutanese population or Bhutanese rulers, they are very afraid because the numbers of the Nepalese have been growing, and therefore in 1990s they had a strict checkpoint at the borders, and they wanted to control the intruders. Not only that, to check the influence of the Nepalese population in Bhutan, rulers, they brought two very problematic citizenship bill, and they passed one citizenship bill was passed, or act was passed in 1958, and the another was passed in 1985. Now, Bhutan's government gave a cutoff stage that those who have migrated till 1958, they will be considered as citizens. 1958 is the cutoff point, provided they gave this proof that they have come from before 1958 or till 58. If they give some evidence residing in Bhutan that you have been residing since 1958, you have to give some proof. Now, if they could supply an evidence, they were given citizenship, otherwise they were considered as illegal residents. However, human rights groups argue that these those who could also furnish such proof, they were also not given. So there was a discrimination as far as origin of Nepalese government, Nepalese people were there. In the census of 1988 was conducted very poorly, and in that also many people were debarred. Following the census, following the census, Bhutanese government realized that the number of the Nepalese migrant is growing, and it is much more than it was expected. So according to the estimated population, it was only 28, 29%, but unofficially it is somewhere 40% of the population. Now this is a dangerous thing for the identity of the Bhutanese people. This created a tension, a friction between Nepalese people or Lord Champa and Bhutanese. Now, why the Bhutanese authorities were so afraid of growing numbers of Nepalese? Now, the social scientists argue Bhutanese people were afraid of growing numbers of Nepal because they had an example of Sikkim. We all know that in 1975, Sikkim merged with India. Why? Because actually their numbers of the Indian residents grew. And therefore, Bhutanese government was very afraid that if something happens, Nepalese people grow, these people can lead to merger of Bhutan with Nepal. And therefore, they were very scared. And hence, in 1990s, they expelled Lord Champa. Since 1988, 1 lakh Nepalese left Bhutan with many, of course, they were forced to go. Now, what is important to note here is that before the expulsion of the Lord Champa, Bhutanese government did not help to create a positive political atmosphere. And under one nation and one people policy, the government placed cultural markers or imposed cultural markers on them as well. And one, of course, was linguistic restrictions. As I told you, Zonka was declared as not only national language, but classroom language. Though in Nepalese dominated areas, Lord Champa dominated areas, actually they were using their local dialect or local language. But after that, they were not allowed. Also, a dress code was introduced in Bhutan. Dress code, publicly, you have to wear that dress code. So the dress code of the Bhutanese were totally different, and the Nepalese dress code was different. It was also introduced and imposed in such a way that it was highest ethics and greatest responsibility of the people to abide by these norms. Otherwise, they were, of course, punished. Of course, Nepalese naturally resented because they were forced to wear a dress of the Bhutanese, and when the people resented and raised their voice against an undemocratic move, they call for democracy. Then what happened? Then, of course, a universal, say, uh, mm, uh, they were, of course, discriminated, tension, and they were actually declared illegal residents. Now, there is also a first universal periodic report which was published. An exclusive census was carried in the southern districts in the Nepali speaking population, and thousands of Nepalese Bhutanese were basically arrested. They were either killed or they were given life sentence and they were tortured. Such was the, a peace-loving country of Bhutan. That was the way basically things happened. Now, many of the voluntary organizations stepped in, and they also saw that there has been violation of human rights. One of the very important aspect was that even marriage was one of the very potent basis for getting citizenship. If you have married a local Bhutanese, then we will be granted citizen. But Nepalese were actually, even there they also suffered, because they used to marry either from Nepal or they used to marry from India. So there also they lost, I think, something to be understood. Now, even after this happening, what has happened? That they were moved out, and even today it is said that 135,000 Nepalese refugees are there. Some of the refugees, they have been taken to different parts of the world to get settled there, and of course US and other neutral countries, under the repatriation policy, they have taken them there. So this is something on the ethnic strife. That is one aspect of Nepal. The second aspect of Bhutan, this is now the second aspect of Bhutan, which we want to look, is evolution and development of democracy. Now, there is a debate, and for this, I think you can look three very small articles. One by Matthew Joseph C. Matthew Joseph C. I should write it. M. Matthew. This you will get on online, and this is from EPW, Bhutan : democracy from above. Okay, Bhutan: democracy from above. The second article is again by this man, Matthew Joseph C. He is from international relations from our university. Political transition in Bhutan. Political transition in Bhutan. And the third article, which you can read, is from Natasha Call, Natasha. Natasha Call, bearing better witness in Bhutan. Bearing better witness in Bhutan. If you want to read further, you can read Partha S. Ghosh, Bhutan, and that is in the book South Asia. So now, if you look this, we have 8 minutes for this, and then we can, of course, go for the another time. So democracy is from above, or did democracy evolve from below? So there is a juxtaposition between two monarchies. One is Nepal and another is Bhutan. We all have understood, and we have seen also when we were doing Nepal, that Nepal democracy evolved from people's movement gradually, and therefore king has to give up power. But here in Bhutan, the social scientists are arguing that democracy was imposed from above by the king himself. King gave away the power. Okay, so there is this debate that whether democracy in Bhutan really came from above, or it was basically something else, or it was because of the ethnic rights and violation or pressure. So we can begin by arguing that the march of Bhutan from absolute monarchy in 1907 to last, or the youngest democracy in the world, 2008. And Bhutan has faced since then 2 elections, 8, 13. We have faced elections, and there has been a smooth transference of power from one political party to another political party. That means that can be substantiated by this, that yes, there is a room for democracy, or democracy has come to stay. Now, if we start actually that whether democracy in Bhutan is a gift of the king, this impression, whether the democracy is imposed from the above, this I think we have to analyze. Now, it is said that at the international level, the 2 models which I have just tried to argue, Nepal and Bhutan, whether that model is being implemented in Bhutan or not. But we will see that whether it is implemented or not. Whether there was something very disturbing within the Nepalese country, and therefore the king wanted to hide or put the unrest or the movements of the minorities of the ethnic people under the carpet by just giving a garb of democracy, or was it something else? That is another point. The third issue is that was there an international pressure on Bhutan to convert to democracy? Now, these are few very important things. Even in neighboring Nepal, Bhutan, I think that is also, especially I'm talking about 2 very important movements which were taking place or had taken place in India. One was Sikkim, how Sikkim got merged with India, and another was GKNLF, Gorkha National Liberation Front, I think. That was the movement which created a fear in the minds of Bhutanese leadership, and therefore they were afraid of looking at the uh, uh, elections or at the democracy. That is, we have to look into. Now, for this, if we read one article by Nitisha Kaur and then start analyzing the elections, how did elections in 2008 had taken place? Whether 2008 elections were fair, then and then only we can say that yes, it is a democratic move and people have accepted the democracy there, and democracy has been of course imposed, but it has been also accepted by the people. So it is people and the rulers, they are hand in glove for the development of democracy. It is not only one-sided affair as it is being made out to be, that king wanted to camouflage some undoing. So that's why we have to look into whether now we are aware that we can say if we read if we read Joseph C. Matthew, then he argues that the peaceful transition from monarchy to democracy is a camouflage. It is an attempt to mislead international community. Why it is actually a camouflage, and why it is? Because he says that some 1,35,000 refugees are languishing in camps of Nepal and India, and therefore, you want to hide the reality. But Nitisha Kaur refuses these charges, and he argues that no, you cannot say this. The transition from monarchy to parliamentary democracy has been a very smooth, long drawn process. It started somewhere in 1998 when the king decided to have a constitution. He gave up his power. He appointed committees to govern, and gradually he has shifted from monarchy to democracy. In between, he brought a constitution, and this constitution was brought because of the dialogue with the public. The king himself and the prince himself went to the people. They made them read the constitution and accept them. If they were not able to read them, there were translators who read them, and then it was brought to the parliament, which was accepted. So